The maintenance request read like any other in Theo Jensen's queue. Environmental control malfunction. Diplomatic Suite 7. Priority Alpha. What made it unusual was the location. The exclusive wing housing the Navari delegation, the first of their kind to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Jensen. The gruff voice of Station Director Hoffman echoed through the corridor. A moment of your time. Theo tucked his diagnostic tablet under his arm, adjusting his standard-issue gray jumpsuit. Sir, I was just heading to fix the climate controls in Suite 7. Hoffman's weathered face tightened. That's precisely what I wanted to discuss. You're entering Ambassador Ilara's private quarters. The Navari are particular about protocols. I've handled diplomatic residences before, Theo replied, running a hand through his short auburn hair. I know to announce myself and minimize disruption. This is different. Hoffman lowered his voice. The Navari have customs that might seem bizarre to us. If anything unusual happens, contact Lieutenant Desai immediately. She's our cultural liaison. Theo nodded, though confusion furrowed his brow. Unusual how? Just remember, we are 18 light years from Earth. The peace treaty with the Navari could open up this entire sector for human expansion. Don't screw it up. With those encouraging words, Hoffman marched away, leaving Theo with more questions than answers. The diplomatic wing featured subtle architectural differences, higher ceilings, ambient lighting that mimicked the Navari homeworld's twin suns. Theo's clearance badge granted him access to the outer door of Suite 7, where he pressed the communication panel. Maintenance responding to environmental control issue, he announced. After a moment, the door slid open with a soft hiss. The air inside felt unusually warm and carried an unfamiliar scent, like cinnamon and ozone. Theo stepped inside, tools in hand. Hello, Ambassador Ilara. Station Engineering. I'm here about your climate controls. The main living area was empty, decorated with strange crystalline sculptures and fabrics in iridescent blues and purples. The temperature reading on his diagnostic tool confirmed the malfunction, nearly 32 degrees Celsius, well above station norms. The control panel should be in the sleeping chamber, he muttered to himself, moving toward the inner door. He announced himself again before pressing the entry panel. The door opened, and Theo froze. Ambassador Ilara stood in the center of the chamber. Her humanoid form was unmistakable, yet distinctly alien. Tall and willowy with skin the color of burnished copper that seemed to shimmer with subtle patterns. Her eyes, large and entirely violet without whites or visible pupils, fixed on him with unmistakable intelligence. She was also completely unclothed. Theo immediately averted his gaze, fumbling for words. I apologize for the intrusion, Ambassador. There was no response at the... I should go. Engineer Jensen, Ilara spoke, her voice melodious with an unusual harmonic quality. You have come at precisely the right moment. Before Theo could respond, the outer door opened again, and Lieutenant Kira Desai rushed in, stopping abruptly at the scene. Oh no, she whispered, then collected herself. Engineer Jensen, please step into the corridor with me immediately. Once outside, Desai's professional composure cracked. Did she speak to you by name? Did she say anything else? Just that I came at the right moment. Theo replied, his face flushed. Look, I had no idea she was. This is serious, Desai interrupted. What you witnessed wasn't an accident or misunderstanding. It was ritual. On Navari, being seen unclothed by an unrelated male is a sacred signal. She's chosen you as her bondmate. Theo stared at her in disbelief. She's... what? Congratulations, Desai said grimly. You've just become a central figure in interstellar diplomacy. The commander needs to see you immediately. Commander Vega's office felt too small for the 6 people crammed inside. Theo sat rigidly in his chair, still processing Lieutenant Desai's explanation, while the station's senior staff debated his future, and possibly that of human-Navari relations. This is unprecedented, Security Chief Ortiz argued. We can't just hand over one of our engineers because of some alien mating ritual. It's not a mating ritual, it's a selection ceremony, Desai corrected, consulting her tablet. The Navari call it Shilithur, the choosing of life paths. It's profoundly significant in their culture. Commander Vega, a stern woman with steel-gray hair pulled into a tight bun, focused her attention on Theo. Mr. Jensen, I understand this is overwhelming, but you need to grasp the gravity of this situation. Ambassador Ilara is not just any diplomat. She's a daughter of the High Sovereign. Her selection of you is both personal and political. Theo ran his hands through his hair. With all due respect, Commander, I was just there to fix her environmental controls. How was I supposed to know walking through a door would get me engaged? The Navari don't have casual relationships, Desai explained. Their neural physiology forms deep psychochemical bonds with chosen partners. For Ambassador Ilara to initiate this ritual, she must have been observing you for some time. This revelation sent a chill down Theo's spine. Observing me? How? Station security feeds, perhaps, or during your previous maintenance visits to the diplomatic wing, Ortiz suggested. The point is, she chose you specifically. Dr. Naveen, the station's chief medical officer, cleared his throat. There are medical considerations as well. Navari biochemistry is complex. If you accept this arrangement, there would be necessary adaptations. If Theo looked around the room. You mean I have a choice? The silence that followed answered his question before Commander Vega spoke. Technically, yes. Practically, refusing would be interpreted as a profound insult. The peace negotiations have been delicate at best. This could collapse 3 years of diplomatic progress. You're saying I might start a war if I say no. Vega's expression remained impassive. I'm saying there would be severe consequences. The Navari value personal bonds above political ones. Their entire governmental structure is built on a complex network of familial and chosen relationships. As if on cue, Theo's tablet chimed with a notification. Lieutenant Desai glanced at it. It's begun. Ambassador Ilara has sent the first gift of courtship. Traditional Navari bonding attire. I need some time to think, Theo said, his voice strained. Of course, Commander Vega nodded, but not too much time. For now, maintain appearances. Lieutenant Desai will guide you through appropriate responses to the ambassador's overtures. As the meeting dispersed, Dr. Naveen pulled Theo aside. For what it's worth, the Navari are remarkable beings. Their capacity for emotional connection surpasses our own in many ways. What begins as obligation might become something meaningful. Later that evening, Theo found a package outside his quarters, an intricately woven garment in shimmering blue fabric. Attached was a handwritten note in careful English. To see with more than eyes is the beginning of wisdom. Ilara. Theo traced the foreign script of her signature, wondering what he'd gotten himself into, and what choice he truly had. 2 weeks into what station personnel had begun calling the diplomatic incident, Theo found himself seated across from Ambassador Ilara in her private dining area. The environmental controls, long since repaired, maintained the warm temperature she preferred. He wore the blue Navari garment she gifted him, a comfortable tunic that seemed to adjust to his body temperature. The nutrient compatibility analysis confirms these dishes are safe for your consumption, Ilara said through her translator device, gesturing to the array of foods between them. Her English had improved, but she preferred the precision of the translator for important conversations. Thank you, Theo replied, cautiously sampling a purple fruit-like object. It tasted like honeyed apricot with a hint of mint. It's delicious. Ilara's expression shifted in what he'd learned was a Navari smile, a subtle rippling of the copper-toned skin around her violet eyes. She wore a simple garment now, her earlier ritual nakedness replaced by pragmatic diplomacy, though the cultural liaison had explained that among her people, clothing was functional rather than modest. I sense your continued discomfort, Ilara observed. You believe you were trapped into this arrangement. Theo paused, choosing his words carefully. I'm trying to understand. In my culture, relationships develop gradually, with mutual consent from the beginning. As do ours, she replied. I have observed you for 3 lunar cycles before making my choice. Your kindness to Jorax, our administrative attendant, when he was struggling with your station's recycling protocols. Your careful attention to detail in your work. The way you defend others when Chief Ortiz is unfair in his criticisms. Theo blinked in surprise. You noticed all that. To choose a life bond without careful observation would be reckless. Ilara said simply. I did not select you at random, Theo Jensen. Something about hearing his name in her melodic voice stirred an unexpected warmth in his chest. In my culture, she continued, we believe souls recognize each other across the void. The physical form is merely the vessel. When I saw you enter my chamber that day, I knew. Knew what? Theo asked, genuinely curious now. That you were one who could see beyond differences. She reached across the table, her 4-fingered hand hovering near his. May I? He nodded, and she placed her hand on his. A subtle vibration passed between them, not unpleasant but foreign, like a gentle electric current. What was that? He asked, surprised but not pulling away. The beginning of understanding, Ilara explained. My people communicate through touch as much as through words. As the evening progressed, Theo found himself increasingly captivated by her perspective on everything from stellar navigation to philosophy. Her alienness became less shocking and more fascinating. When she explained the Navari concept of interconnected consciousness, he found himself leaning closer, entranced by the way her eyes seemed to contain galaxies. Later, when she guided his hands to the sensitive areas along her shoulders, where iridescent patterns pulsed with bioluminescence, Theo discovered that desire could transcend biological differences. Their intimate connection was nothing like he could have imagined. Equal parts communication and passion. Strange yet somehow familiar. Afterward, lying beside her in the half-light, Theo realized with startling clarity that what had begun as diplomatic obligation had become something he was unwilling to lose. They arrive tomorrow, Commander Vega announced, her face grave on Theo's communication screen. A delegation from the Navari High Council, including Ambassador Ilara's familial rival, Sub-Sovereign Tarek. Theo nodded, glancing at Ilara who sat beside him, her copper skin pulsing with patterns he'd learned indicated concern. 3 months into their relationship, he'd grown adept at reading her nonverbal cues. What exactly do they want? He asked. Lieutenant Desai's face appeared in a split screen. To verify the legitimacy of your bond, Sub-Sovereign Tarek has suggested to the Council that Ambassador Ilara selected you as a political maneuver rather than a genuine Gilither. That's ridiculous, Theo said, instinctively reaching for Ilara's hand. The familiar gentle current passed between them. Anyone who sees us together would know. The Navari don't trust visual evidence alone, Desai interrupted. They'll conduct a resonance test. Ilara's patterns intensified. A resonance test requires a harmonizer. They cannot bring such technology onto your station without violating the preliminary accords. Apparently, they've received special dispensation, Commander Vega replied. The test happens tomorrow at 800 hours. After the call ended, Ilara moved to the viewport, gazing out at the distant stars. Tarek seeks to discredit me and position his offspring as the new ambassador. If our bond is declared false, I will be recalled in disgrace. Can't we refuse the test? Theo asked, joining her. Refusal would be an admission of deception. She turned to him, her large violet eyes holding his gaze. The resonance test measures the synchronization of neurochemical patterns between bonded pairs. It cannot be falsified. Then we have nothing to worry about, Theo said with more confidence than he felt. The door chime interrupted them. When it opened, no one was there, only a small package on the floor. Theo picked it up cautiously. Wait, Ilara said sharply. That is not a Navari design. Too late. The package emitted a high-pitched sound. Ilara collapsed instantly, her copper skin turning ashen gray. Theo caught her before she hit the floor, already shouting for medical assistance into his communicator. Hours later in the medical bay, Dr. Navian delivered his assessment. It was targeted specifically to Navari neurophysiology, a sophisticated attack. She's stabilized, but whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. Tarek, Theo growled. He wants her out of the way before the resonance test. We have no proof, Commander Vega cautioned, though her expression suggested she shared his suspicion. When Ilara regained consciousness, her normally vibrant skin remained dull. The resonance test, she whispered. Without full neurological function, I cannot achieve synchronization. Theo stayed by her side through the night, his mind racing through options. By morning, he'd made his decision. The Navari delegation arrived with cold formality. Sub-Sovereign Tarek, tall even by Navari standards, regarded Theo with thinly veiled contempt. We will proceed with the resonance test, he announced, though it appears Ambassador Ilara is unwell. Before we begin, Theo stepped forward. I invoke the right of proxy challenge under Article 17 of the Navari Diplomatic Code. A murmur ran through the delegation. Tarek's patterns flashed with surprise. You claim knowledge of our laws, human. I claim the right to stand for my bonded partner when she has been wrongfully incapacitated. Theo replied steadily. Unless you wish to explain to the High Council how the ambassador suffered a neurological attack hours before your convenient test. The gambit worked. Rather than risk investigation, Tarek agreed to postpone the resonance test for 7 planetary cycles, time enough for Ilara to recover. That night, as Theo maintained his vigil by her bedside, Ilara's hand found his. How did you know of the proxy challenge? She asked weakly. I've been studying, he admitted, not just for appearances anymore. The subtle ripple around her eyes. Her smile was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. The great hall of Station Epsilon 9 had been transformed for the occasion. Navari crystalline sculptures lined the walls, their surfaces refracting light in hypnotic patterns. The air was perfumed with ceremonial Navari incense, the temperature raised to accommodate the visitors. Representatives from both species filled the room, tension evident in their postures. At the center stood the harmonizer, a complex device of unknown technology that hummed with potential energy. Beside it waited Sub-Sovereign Tarek and 3 members of the High Council, their elaborate ceremonial garments indicating the gravity of the proceedings. Theo entered first, dressed in the full bonding attire Ilara had gifted him, now complemented with markings he carefully applied to his skin in the Navari tradition. A ripple of surprise moved through the alien delegation at this unexpected cultural gesture. When Ambassador Ilara entered, fully recovered from the attack, her copper skin radiated with vibrant patterns Theo had never seen before. What he would later learn were the sacred markings of commitment, displayed only during life bond ceremonies. We gather to verify the truth of this claimed bond, Tarek announced, his translator broadcasting in both languages. A human cannot truly comprehend Gilither. This performance, while politically expedient, mocks our sacred traditions. Commander Vega stepped forward. The United Earth government recognizes this bond and the diplomatic implications thereof. We stand by Engineer Jensen and Ambassador Ilara. Words, Tarek dismissed. The harmonizer will reveal truth. The device activated, creating a field of shimmering energy around Theo and Ilara. As instructed, they stood facing each other, hands joined. The harmonizer began emitting a complex sequence of tones, measuring the neurochemical responses between them. Theo felt a familiar current flowing between their joined hands, but stronger now, spreading up his arms and throughout his body. He saw Ilara's eyes widen as something unexpected happened. The patterns on her skin began appearing on his as well, ghostly at first, then growing more defined. Murmurs of shock rippled through the Navari delegation. One of the council members stepped closer, examining them with evident amazement. "Impossible," Tarek protested. "A human cannot manifest connection patterns." "And yet we witness it," the eldest council member replied. "The harmonizer does not lie." When the device finally powered down, the verdict was clear. Their bond registered at the deepest level recognized in Navari tradition. A true life bond, unprecedented between different species. "There is one more matter," Theo said, stepping forward. With careful precision, he performed the ritual he'd spent weeks practicing in secret, a traditional Navari bonding ceremony, but modified to incorporate human elements. He spoke the ancient words in their language, his pronunciation careful and respectful, then added his own vows in English. "Two worlds, two hearts, one path forward," he concluded, presenting Ilara with a small crystalline object he fabricated himself, a representation of Earth and the Navari homeworld orbiting a shared star. Ilara's patterns pulsed with emotion as she accepted it. "You honor me beyond words," she said. Her translator switched off as she spoke directly in carefully practiced English. The council members conferred briefly before the eldest stepped forward. "What we have witnessed today extends beyond personal connection. It establishes new understanding between our peoples." She turned to Commander Vega. "We propose formalizing this bond connection as diplomatic protocol, the first of its kind between humans and Navari." Later that night, alone in their quarters, Theo and Ilara stood by the viewport, watching the stars. "You realize what this means," she said softly. "You are now officially a diplomat." Theo smiled, tracing the fading patterns on his skin that mirrored hers. "I never thought fixing an environmental control system would lead to interstellar diplomacy." "The universe works in patterns we cannot always discern," she replied, her four-fingered hand fitting perfectly in his five-fingered one. "But sometimes, when we open the right door, we find exactly where we're meant to be," Theo finished, drawing her close as they gazed out at their shared future among the stars.